I need to figure out what is it that is causing these emotions and how do I assess this? And so I started just writing down questions as far as some of my strengths and weaknesses in four main areas. I looked at nutrition,
Okay.
movement, self-care, and sleep, and tried
Okay.
to take a really deep dive into those four areas, finding out what am I doing really well and what am I not doing really well. Obviously, self care was a big one as far as not allowing myself to have that time down and off. And so, truly, that's where the book was born. I started right then and there applying some of the concepts again that I'd been teaching in my daily life, but decided let's go ahead and turn this into something more concrete that then I can use as a tool.
Welcome to Parenting Teens Today with Jesse LeBeau.
And here we are. We're back. Jennie Phillips, why did you write a book? Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. What led you to write this book?
It's a really fun question because the book was actually born on a beach. And so when I tell people that I've written this book about how to deal with burnout and stress and anxiety, and they're like, but you're on a beach. How does that come to be? Normally when you think beach, you're thinking seagulls and nice wind and blue ocean and soft sand and just
Well, what beach
calm.
are we talking? Where
So
is this beach? I need
so
more.
yeah, so we're in Seaside, Florida, along
Okay, it sounds like a
38.
nice beach.
It's a
Okay, it
nice
sounds
it's
good.
a nice beach, yes. And I had just finished running a half marathon in Seaside, Florida with my girlfriends. And the kicker was the trip when it came about, I had the run trip on one weekend, and then the following weekend I had a conference in DC. And so originally, when I planned this trip, I was going to drive down to Florida with my girlfriends. We're going to run the race. This was just post COVID pandemic. And so we were super excited to be out and again and running and being able to be out in all the environment and doing all of the things. And I was going to drive home with the girls to work a day, to repack my luggage, to fly to DC to spend a few days at a conference. And my family decided, instead of coming home, why don't you just stay in Florida during that interim and fly from Destin to DC? And I thought, that's great. I'll have some rest and relaxation, some rejuvenating time. And what happened was my girlfriends drove away, and then all of a sudden I found myself in a zone of not being very comfortable and not knowing how to deal with the stillness and the quiet because I was so used to going, and having all of the to-dos between family and work, the kids, just bills, all the things that come with parenting and adulting as a whole.
Yeah.
And when that calm came and I did not have the texts and the emails and the parenting and the groceries and all of those responsibilities, I felt really uncomfortable and
Huh.
realized that although I was teaching to all of my clients how to try to balance your life, that I wasn't implementing myself. And I felt pretty unworthy as a parent to be on a beach by myself relaxing. I felt like
Mm.
this was a luxury that maybe I shouldn't be taking. As a mom, I felt I've never really done this without my kids. They should be with me. With my clients back at home, I run a gym, and I thought, what if they figure out that they don't need me as a trainer and as a nutritionist? And am I still going to have a
Mm.
business to come home to?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's really where I stopped and I said, all right, and how do I assess this? And so I started just writing down questions as far as some of my strengths and weaknesses in four main areas. I looked at nutrition,
Okay.
movement, self care, and sleep, and tried to
Okay.
take a really deep dive into those four areas, finding out what am I doing really well and what am I not doing really well. Obviously, self care was a big one as far as not allowing myself to have that time down and off. And so, truly, that's where the book was born. I started right then and there applying some of the concepts again that I'd been teaching in my daily life, but decided, let's go ahead and turn this into something more concrete that then I can use as a tool.
Wow. So now my question is, how long was that downtime where you're having all this, like, I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but you're having this epiphany of like, they're not going to need me and I'm selfish being here by myself. I feel like it was a day or it was like an hour and was it a week? What was the actual time frame that you were
It
having all these thoughts running through your head?
it wasn't that it was about a half day of, because as soon as it hit me on the beach, I was walking by myself and all of a sudden thought, it just kind of froze, just nauseous to the stomach, couldn't breathe. What is going on? Why am I feeling this? And so I did two things. I called my oldest daughter and I said, Julia, should I come home? Like, are you guys, like, is this okay? And not that I needed my kids to necessarily give me permission, but it really was calming to hear her say, Mom, we've discussed this. This is good. You need to stay. We're all in support of this. We discussed this. Second call was to my husband. I said, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, oh my gosh, Jen, just enjoy the time. We are fine. Your clients are fine. Go enjoy the day. Go grab a spot on the beach, which you love, sit down with a book, and just enjoy it. And so I did. I found a good spot on the beach and sat down with my journal. And just by journaling out those feelings, it took about a half day for me to say, I'm going to take this moment that started out really stressful and anxiety filled, and I'm going to try to turn it into something that, if nothing else, is going to help me along the way. And I thought, I'm going to Marie Kondo my life here. So with Marie Kondo, who's this organizing genius that says, take something out of the closet. If it brings you joy, keep it. And if not, let it go. So what is it in my life that brings me joy that I want to hold on to? And what is it that I need to let go because it's causing this angst and anxiety? So I just started to just list it all in a notebook. So that whole day, from the beginning when my girlfriends left, to midday when I was starting to put it into gear, to the evening where I thought, I think this is going to be fun the next day as well, to dive deeper in this and to know that I have the time and I don't have the distractions of every day, that this might be a really amazing blessing that was given to me, that I can make something out of this.
Hmm. Well, it sounds like you have a really great husband and some great kids that are on your side and want you to be there, or you've been driving them crazy and they wanted a break for a couple of days. I will throw that out there. That is a possibility. But
Yeah, all of that is a possibility.
I think it's the first one. But we're all wondering now, how did you rate yourself in those four categories? And then we're selfishly thinking, where would we rate ourselves in those four categories? So, do you share that in the book, or can we get that from you now? Of
Yeah,
how
happy to
you?
share.
Okay, let's do it.
Happy to share. Sleep was a really
Okay.
interesting one for me because I own a gym in our neighboring town, and during COVID, my fear was this gym's going to shut down. So if a client comes, if I get a new person that wants to join in, then the answer is yes. The answer is yes to everything. If it is an opportunity, the answer is yes. If there's an option, the answer is yes. And so I was booking my day where I would start to get up at 4:30 in the morning because I would open the gym by 5, and I would take clients until 7:30 at night. And there were days where it was booked, which to me I kept saying, it's a busy blessing. It's a busy blessing to be booked all day long. But then what I was noticing is that I'm not sleeping really well at night. I'm not sitting down for 3 balanced meals or these snacks throughout the day. So now my nutrition is starting to play a part in this. My movement, you think as a personal trainer, well, you're moving all day. Well, not really if you're training people. You might model a move, but you're really focused on them. So you're not doing the movement. And as a run coach and training people for different runs, I also thought I'm expected to keep up a certain number of miles so that I'm doing the do and modeling for my run clients so that I'm not just projecting this is what a training program is, but I'm also following it. So here I am trying to get these miles in and not always being able to do it. And then obviously the self-care piece. There was not time to journal. There was not time to read. There was not time to meditate. There wasn't time to take a bath and just relax in the bubbles or the bath bombs of the world. It really was just, what's my task? How am I going to complete it? So in each area, I noticed there truly was a deficit. And I struggle with, I have lupus. And so my doctors had a very black and white scale of what was happening with my health and wellness. And so as I was seeing my doctors, they kept saying, you cannot continue to burn both ends of the candle. Something is going to happen. And sure enough, less than a year later, after being on the beach, I ended in the hospital with crazy chest pains, the inability to swallow, and the ability to lay on my back. And I fought the pain for about a day and a half, and I thought, man, you're not going to be the personal trainer that ends up with a heart attack, and sat here and just dismissed all of the symptoms. So went into the emergency room, and what had happened is that my stress started manifesting itself, outward symptoms, very physical. And I had a spastic esophagus that was being caused by additional acid in my stomach from all of the stress and the bad nutrition and the bad sleep. And so then that became a whole problem that we were able to correct within 3 months of working with doctors and specialists and realizing that they can actually give you a medication that helps to paralyze the esophagus, to retrain it to just calm down. But then I had to do my part, right? I had to implement these other things to lower my stress level, to get more sleep, to eat more nutritionally, and to be able to move in a very healthy way so that I was not only projecting, my gym is called Vitality. I'm supposed to, well, see, this is the problem too. We guilt ourselves into, I'm supposed to be the picture of vitality. I want to exude as much of that and model that, not only for my clients, but also my kids. Because what does it do them if then mom is in the hospital or, again, not functioning really well for them because they feel like they have to do all the do's. And really, my number one goal in life is to be there for my family and, again, to be the best a parent before they take off and become adults so that they can live their independent lives.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from talking to a lot of parents that the result is they're stressed. Almost every single time when there's a kid struggling with anxiety or stress or depression, when we look into it further, one of the parents in the home is modeling one of those areas of behavior. So just hats off to you for turning that around and being a shining example. I'm curious, what was it that had you so stressed? Was it just wearing all the hats of being a mother, of being a business owner, of going so hard all the time with work? Or is there other elements in the equation that were adding to it? And then on the flip side, how did you just in 3 months be able to navigate and turn that around?
The first part of your answer was correct. As far as being the mom, the business owner, wearing all of the hats and just getting to a point of what I lovingly said, suburban burnout. It just all the things, all the obligations, the volunteer, the opportunities to reach out in the community, be the mom, do all the things. And all of a sudden it was just, okay, we might need to micromanage some things. I might need to pass some things on and let someone else take control of that instead of always feeling that I had to be the one to do that. And so the first thing I did is I took the parts that I knew that I could implement right away, because I knew that it was going to be small steps, one at a time, that I could build. So just what are the things I can implement right away? And one of the biggest ones was sleep. And so for me, it became declaring to my family, first deciding this is my bedtime, and then sitting down with my family and declaring that and letting them know, hey, mom is really going to need some more sleep. And so if you need homework help, that needs to be done earlier in the evening, or we need to find a tutor or someone else that can help with that, because I really need to be in bed by 8 if I'm going to get that 7 to 9 hours. And then the second thing that I did in regards to sleep right away is I had to have an honest conversation with my clients. And I said, how important is this early time for everyone? And can we just scooch it back a little bit so that we can all start a little bit later? And it came with a little bit of a hardship. I did lose 2 clients, and that was really hard because they were clients that I loved, but they are corporate employees that are over across the river in St. Louis. And so it was not an opportunity for them to move. Everyone else was ecstatic about being able to move a little bit later. And so it was just resetting some boundaries in regards to work as well as family life. So I would say sleep was the first one. And then with that, also mandating that I had a lunch break every single day. And that lunch break, I would take a 2-hour break. And so that was enough time if I needed to nap that day, if I needed to do any business stuff that felt like was stressing me out at the end of the day and was loose ends that needed to be tied up. It might be a good run or work out myself, but it surely was always sitting down to have a really good meal. And so again, kind of finding the white space in my day and definitely setting new boundaries, but huge communication with my family so that they were on board with it and they knew kind of where that was going to fall in regards to things that I needed for them as well.
I love it, man. I just think mothers are so selfless. And that's one thing on these calls. It feels like they just put the weight of the world on their shoulders and everything that's going on, not just in their life and their husband's life, but also in their kids' life. They feel like it's their responsibility. And it's so tough because it's like, hey, other people have their own independent will and ability to make decisions, and you can't be responsible for everything. And sometimes it's just like a freeing feeling to be like, you know what? I am going to have some boundaries. I am going to have limits. I'm going to get sleep. What a crazy thing. Like, I need to be able to get
Right.
the most basic thing. Like, I heard one time, and they broke down, they're like, hey, we have this new, miracle pill. When you take this pill, here's the results that you get. And they list all of the things. And then they go, and by the way, it's not a pill. That's literally what you get from a good night's sleep. It's so significantly better than anything out there. And so, yeah, I just love that you're doing that. That's an area that I struggle in as well. Just type A going all the time, want to get the most done. All right, we're going to get up before, like, I like getting up early before everyone and getting, the joke is I get more done, by the time people are just waking up in the morning than they will all day. And that's just kind of how I was raised in to believe. And there's a lot of great in that, and you can make the most of your time. But not if you're sick, unhealthy, and it's leading into all these other areas of your life. So I wanted to ask you, can you explain the title of your book to everybody? Why is that the title, and what does that mean exactly?
That's a great question. It just kind of came on the beach. So when I was sitting there, I was journaling and I literally wrote my journal, okay, God, it's me and you. How do we make this something that I can change that really will calm my life and encourage a pause? And as I was sitting there, I was just doodling, and I doodled a stoplight, and I thought, it's just like a yellow light. It's just like if you're coming up to a traffic light, sometimes it's green and you go. You know that's your go signal. Sometimes it's red and it knows that that's exactly what you're going to do is now you're going to stop. But on that yellow light, it's an interesting place to be because that's when you just have to kind of pump the brakes, check your surroundings, make some decisions. Am I stopping? Am I going? Do I need to pivot my direction? And I thought, that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I just need to pump the brakes. I need to do a mental check, a gut check, a physical check, an emotional check, a spiritual check. I need a yellow light moment of just calming and pausing long enough to check in with myself, because I was so used to saying, I'm fine, it's fine, it's fine. And if you really say, but how is it really? How are you really doing? And you ask those difficult and sometimes dangerous questions, you're going to come up with some answers that might cause you to have to change or change the narrative or pivot somehow in your life. And that's really what the yellow light was all about. And I ended up loving the symbolism because I think it's an easy way to explain it to other people, to use that analogy. And especially when I'm working with teens, they can understand that, because teens are going to go through the same thing when they're feeling all of these emotions and they don't know how to process it. When our son was younger, he would have these emotional, and it would come out physical, of flopping on the floor or getting upset and angry. And we came up with the word, he actually came up with the word caterpillar. And when Brian would say the word caterpillar, we knew he needed some time to process. He needed some time just to take a break. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. He just needed a minute. Mom and Dad, don't discipline, don't yell, don't talk. Give me a second to figure this out, and then we'll talk about it. And so that became our common language. Now he's 20, and we laugh because Caterpillar has now changed to, he will say, Mom, you've hit your question quota. And he says it in a very respectful way. Sometimes not. So sometimes we have to parent him on that. But for the most part, he's just saying, I know you want to know what's going on in my life and all of the things that I have going on, and I want to talk to you about it, but right now I'm just not mentally in the mood, emotionally not there, physically I'm exhausted. It's usually in the morning whenever we have these conversations. That's normally when he pumps the brakes on me. Yeah. And so to be able for them, as they walked through this process with me, they knew that yellow light moment was exactly that sometimes it was just a shared language between us. And it was great, again, to be able to model that as parents, because they realized this isn't just something that they need. This is a life skill. This is something in your toolbox that you can use in relationships, in work, or in the business place, either with a project and or with colleagues, and then especially in your health and wellness, that sometimes we just have to stop and ask ourselves, how is it going? And are the choices that I've been making aligning with my end goal? Am I in alignment? Am I doing things intentionally? Am I mindful about those choices? And if not, what needs to change?
Caterpillar is funny. That is good. That I was like, wonder why he
I
picked
always
that.
wonder, where did that word come from? I don't know. It's what he chose. He was young, and so yeah, it's just the term.
So, what would you say is the biggest mistakes that parents or teens are making when it comes to dealing with stress or their mental health in nutrition and these types of things? What are you kind of seeing on the front lines there with your work?
They're just not dealing with it. They're pushing it off just like I was, and saying, it's fine, it's expected, I'm supposed to feel this way. When like teens, I got a bad grade. Okay, I'm not supposed to talk about this. I don't know how to feel about this. My girlfriend broke up with me. I didn't get the job that I was looking for. I'm filling out resumes or applications to college, and they're not taking time to maybe chunk their time into bite-sized pieces to handle these things, but they're letting that overwhelm set in. And as parents, we do the same thing. It's just on it's a different scale, but it's not. It's not getting the promotion at work. It's not meeting the deadline. It's having relationship issues, married or not. It is all of the things that we go through as well. And again, we just push through and say, I'm fine. This is expected. And then we sometimes wear it as a badge of honor. We've heard people, young and old, say, oh my gosh, I was working so crazy, I didn't even eat lunch today. And they'll say it almost like a boastful, prideful way that that's where I'm at in life. When you look at the end game, what is that costing you in the end by not taking those micro pauses in your day or refueling yourself appropriately? So when they have lost clarity or they feel unfocused or drained or just unbalanced, they're dismissing it and not addressing it. And so the book is fun because it will lead you through 40 questions at the very beginning. So my past life, before I owned a gym and was in the fitness business, I was a high school biology and chemistry teacher turned curriculum developer. And so the book at the very beginning is very much, all right, let's do some schoolwork. Let's ask those questions. So here are 40 questions for you to dive into. And then the back of the book has over 30 worksheets that as we're talking through those concepts, they can do the do. They can actually fill out worksheets to answer, meal prep, journal, mind map, all the things that we say that these are great, but do we ever actually stop to do them, or do we say, okay, that was great in the book, but I actually never did it? And then for the teens, we've created a toolbox for them that brings it to their level, things that help a child, a teenager, calm. And it might be a breathing exercise. It might be listening to some music and dancing it out. Not that parents wouldn't feel the same thing. It might be calling up a friend, going for a walk, but try to put it in terms with them. If I say meditate to my 16-year-old, she's going to be like, Mom, I'm not meditating. I don't even know. No. But if I say, hey, go put on some of your favorite tunes and listen to that, or go draw, or go take a walk, or go jump in the pool, or jump on the trampoline, something that just gives them that micro break. If I say, go make a smoothie. For an adult, I can say, add 1 vegetable a day to help improve your nutrition. I'm going to say that to my 16-year-old, and she's going to be like, I hear you. You always say that. But if I say, go make a healthy smoothie, okay, that's something I'll do. So just trying to find, and that will be different for every child, and that will be different for every adult, to kind of find their love language, to find their joy, to find what brings them peace and calm and realignment. And so coming up with that with your teen is a great approach too. Sometimes when it's not in, we talk about the distress scale and where do you feel, if you're not in that red zone of feeling like, that's when you have those conversations as far as like, hey, if you ever felt like you needed to get better with your nutrition, what do you think that you're lacking? Let's come up with some ideas together. What are some things that maybe you need? Are you sleeping okay at night? And what do you think? Do you think we need a better comforter? Maybe it's too bright during the summer and you need some blackout shades. What are some very applicable things that we can do? But the kids, if you are chatting with them and not as a parent, but more of just that conversation, what can I do to help you? Let them come up with ideas that work for them so that you can then retrieve those in those moments where there might need a yellow light moment and that might need to be taken.
So make it more collaborative and fun instead of just imposing on them. And
Absolutely.
you see a lot of different results, a lot better ones, huh?
Yeah. And it's so funny because we've raised 4 children and all of them respond differently to this. So all of them would need something very different. And that's where just not thinking that it has to be, this is the system, this is what works for everyone, because it's not. So really chatting with that individually with your child.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? You can do the exact same parenting to 4 different kids, and one kid's on the honor roll, and another kid's having a hard time, and you're like, well, they're in the same house, they're doing the same thing, but like you said, they respond differently. They got different personalities and action types. It's a lot of work being a parent. I
It's
don't know how anyone does it or figures it out, and that's great that we have books and resources like you to be able to help with these things.
it is day
I'm
by day. That's for
day by
sure. Day by
day.
day. Take it day
Sometimes
by
hour
day.
for hour. We just see. I'm curious. Sometimes I get just focused on a thing, and it becomes like I just obsessed or really passionate about it. Is there anything for you on your mind or heart that you've been thinking about more recently, or maybe in general, that you want to share right now that you're seeing in your own life or with parents or with teens? Is there anything like that for you that stands out as I'm saying this?
I think the thing that we're really running with right now is trying to make yellow light moments even a more concrete concept. And so I've created something called the YLM framework. And so if you take yellow light moments and you take the Y, the L, and the M there, again, this is the teacher right in me that pulls this, and then the mom. The Y is the yield. So teaching people that there is power in pausing. It's not a failure, it's not a step backwards, and it doesn't have to be long. It can be these micro pauses throughout your day. You don't have to think I've got to go away to a beach for an entire 24 hours to get this pause. Take small parts of your day and just acknowledge. And then L, listen. Listen to what your body is saying. Listen to what your heart is saying. Are you happy? Are you sad? Ask those questions. And when you get that feedback and those answers, then I want the M. I want the move. I want an actionable step. And it doesn't have to be big. One small movement that is intentional and is mindful that you can start to build on. And being able to take yellow light moments and break it down even further to let people know, again, the biggest thing for me is to not think pausing or taking those breaks is a luxury. Is it something that you should feel guilty about? Everybody needs those. Everybody needs those beach days. Everybody needs those days where I can go just sit in my backyard in the grass. It doesn't have to be something elaborate. But again, even if it's a small moment, when I drive home from work at night, I will open up the garage and then I'll sit in my car for a few minutes before I go into the house. And it's just my pause to realign and refocus myself to say, okay, I just got done with work. I'm about ready to go into the house and put on my mom hat, or I just had my trainer hat. Let's refocus. Let's take a few deep breaths. Let's start to break from the ties and the emotions of the day so that I am fully present with my family that's inside. And so I do a little YLM moment in my car before I go ahead and walk in the door. And it's funny because sometimes I'll see the door open and then they'll close it again because they know that it's my moment. It's going to be no more than 5 minutes. I'll be there in a second. If it's more than 5, then you should probably come out and rescue your mom because she's probably having a little bit more time. Yeah, right.
Well, I love that. Yeah, I think that's so important. And as someone who's a recovering perfectionist and wanting to push the limits and go all the time, I know how important that is too, and how hard it can be when you're carrying a lot of hats and you're trying to do a lot to be like, all right, nope, I have to have some boundaries and make some different priorities. And your health has got to be one of them, because without that, you can't do anything. You can't help people. You can't be a great mom, can't be a great dad, and all these different things. So I think people want to know at this point, what does it look like to work with you, and where can parents and teens find you? Is it the Yellow Light website? What social media? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. Available on social media. So you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. You can contact me or check out the website. That is jenniephillipscoaching.com. Yellow Light Moments as a book is available anywhere books are sold, and that's U.S. and internationally. So Amazon, Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, Target, all of them are carrying the book. So really picking that up, taking a look at it. We have a resources tab on jenniephillipscoaching.com that you can download some of those toolbox kits for your kids, as well as some different smaller versions of the evaluation if you just want to do a quick 5-minute mindset test, or you want to do a quick analysis of just a check-in of how you would rate instead of doing the full 40 question questionnaire. This is a quick 20 question check-in point. And then there's always a contact button there as well. So if there's anyone that wants to do any personal calls or do speaking engagement or anything like this, then that's how they contact me as well.
I love it. So, final question for you. If you were going to go back to 14-year-old Jenny and you're going to give yourself one piece of advice from everything you know now, what would that thing be?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because my daughter just asked me that.
Oh,
Give
no.
yourself, yeah, it was great. I love it. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Know that life is full of ups and downs and it waxes and wanes and we look for balance, but that's not always easy because there are times in your life where things are going to be out of balance, but give yourself grace to learn and to move through all of those and just be true to yourself through that. So if you have to ask yourself the questions and know, man, there's an area that I'm kind of weak on right now, then give yourself that grace and that time to learn through that to better yourself.
So good, especially as we're talking about, hey, everybody, you got the weight of the world on your shoulders. Give yourself some grace. I love it. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out and being so generous with all of this stuff. I'm really excited to have people check out the book and share with us how much it impacted them for a positive direction in their life.
Awesome.
Get
Thanks,
some
Jesse, for
sleep.
having me on. Oh, yeah,
Sleep.
exactly. You too.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.